Welcome back. All right, now I can say welcome back. You know, it's my first video of Sunday because we did the live stream this morning. Thanks for everybody who attended. That was fun. All right, so Vancouver Canucks leading off this News of the Day video for your Sunday, December the 18th, 1 week till Christmas. Pettersson is the only untouchable, apparently, for the Vancouver Canucks. This is a departure. We have heard a lot about how they have a core four, they have core players. So if a team wants to make an offer for Quinn Hughes, I guess they're listening. I would think it would take a lot for Quinn Hughes, but he is the one that I would think of all of the Canucks players, he would get the most calls. That would be the one where teams would be willing to give up a lot. And rightfully so. Quinn Hughes is an elite offensive defenseman, and people will talk about the defensive miscues in his game. But yeah, offensive defensemen, you do get that. They just haven't had somebody who can really and truly cover for some of those defensive miscues, as well as Luke Schenn has played. He's not Jacob Slavin, right? So if you took Quinn Hughes and sent him to Carolina and you paired him with Slavin, and I know Burns is there, but I'm just saying that'd be one thing, right? So yeah, the one thing too out of last night's game, and I saw this headline and read through it, and it's true. The biggest thing that I could say that is a criticism for the Canucks is the team's lack of urgency in some big games. So when they're against teams that are really good, it's just that they start flat. Goals are scored against them. There just doesn't seem to be any feeling of it. It's like when you watch a team play a preseason game is the best way I could put it. And you can put that on Bruce Boudreau. I think that would be fair. You can put that on the players. That is also fair. You can put it on management for the composition of the team. Also fair. The Vancouver Canucks basically signaling they're open for business. I agree. Pettersson's an untouchable. He has shown signs this year that he has an elite potential as a two-way forward. And, you know, once he's finally being trusted in these defensive situations, he's actually playing pretty well. So for Pettersson to be untouchable makes some sense. I also agree with Demko not being untouchable at this point. Hey, you know, it doesn't mean they're going to trade these players. It just means they're going to listen. So we'll see what happens. But for Vancouver, this is the declaration, keeping in mind that making a trade right now with the salary cap being where it is and teams all being up against it makes it very difficult. But as we get closer to the deadline, maybe the Canucks have a bit of a surprise in store. And I couldn't imagine how well it would be received if Demko or Hughes got traded and then they signed Horvat to an 8-year extension. I am sure that would go over really well with the Canuck fan base, especially if JT Miller was still here. So, looking forward to seeing what kind of chaos we're going to get around the I was going to say All-Star game, but around the, although that's when we'll probably start to see some movement, right, is right before and right around the All-Star game. And then we get to the trade deadline, and it should be crazy. GM's expecting a crazy trade deadline on March the 3rd. So the Edmonton Oilers finally signed Jason Demers. He was on a tryout. He was with the team after that tryout was over. There were expectations he was going to sign, and it finally happens. So he signed for the rest of this season, and he's been placed on waivers. He will be sent down to the American Hockey League. I would think he's going to clear waivers. I can't see anybody else picking him up for the same reasons we aren't having trades. That's why we're not seeing a lot of guys getting picked up on waivers, is salary cap considerations. And then, of course, injuries have thrown all that into chaos as well, which might be part of the reason why Demers gets picked up. It's a depth player on the blue line for the Oilers, and he's got NHL experience, a lot of it, and so we'll see how it goes for him. But yeah, best of luck to the Oilers in getting the whole defense figured out. We saw yesterday against Anaheim, there is some work to be done on the blue line for them. Austin Watson was fined today for interference on Dylan Larkin yesterday. By fining Watson, it means that anybody who wanted a suspension on the play will be angry, and anybody who thought, well, it's no big deal, it's just a hockey play, could also be angry. So that way you balance it out and you don't really make anyone happy, which seems to be the NHL's MO. Is making sure that everybody's just kind of a little bit miserable. So I'm not saying that should be their tagline. We make everybody a little bit miserable, but it could work on numerous levels. Also, I've heard this over the last couple of days, and I saw this yesterday, and if I'd had time yesterday, I would have done up a whole video on it. I still might. So an 84-game schedule. This is what I thought they would do years ago. They've had an 84-game schedule before. They used to have 82 games on the schedule, and the extra 2 games were neutral site games. So they were games played in Milwaukee or Fort Lauderdale or wherever. it was not a great program. It didn't last that long, and then you get back down to 82 games. But an 84 game schedule works simply. You play 4 games against every team in your division. So all the complaining about how the Islanders and the Rangers only play 3 times and the Flames and the Oilers only play 3 times, that goes by the wayside. You get more of those rivalry games there. And then you still have the 3 games against everybody in the conference and 2 games against everybody in the other conference. So it's 28 plus 24 plus 32 equals 84. Simple. Now, to get the players to sign off on it, and the NHL hasn't actually gone to the players and talked about this yet, because the NHLPA has to agree to it. In all likelihood, we're going to be looking at a shorter training camp, and we're going to be looking at a shorter preseason. And considering how well-conditioned athletes are now, it would make some sense to cut back on both. And I don't think fans would be all that upset either. The preseason can seem to take a while, and it's especially frustrating when it's a preseason game and almost everybody in the lineup is not going to be on the NHL roster on October the 15th. So you're getting fans to pay to go and watch a game full of players who aren't going to be playing in the NHL in a couple weeks' time. Yes, they're wearing the gear. Yes, they get all the same goal songs as the NHL players, but we really know what we're watching is an AHL showcase, which can be entertaining on some level, but again, I think that shortening preseason makes a lot of sense. You see players who don't even play in the preseason. They might play in the last game of the preseason, so it's not like it's going to harm anything here. I think that'll happen. I think an 84-game schedule makes a lot of sense. I think you can start the schedule the first week of October. I've never understood why they don't start the schedule first week of October. It feels like they used to. But start the schedule the first week of October and, get her done by the first weekend of April, and then you got your Stanley Cup awarded in a reasonable time. I know that I've seen a lot of the comments of the season's too long now. Right, but they're not going to shorten it. I always see the comments of, well, the NHL could shorten it to this. So you've got 2 choices. Either you're telling the players, hey, accept this schedule and you'll make less money. Most players aren't going to take that. Or you're telling the fans, we've decided to shorten the schedule. Oh, and by the way, ticket prices are going up by 15%. So I don't think that's going to fly either, because you still got to make your money, right? The NHL making record revenues right now. That's why those dasher boards are staying as they are. There's been major glitches with the ads on those boards, right? But still, the NHL, basically, Bettman saying that the revenues have exceeded expectations for those digital ads on the boards. It's not a poll. Like, no fan has been asked in a poll about whether or not they like them, and it's not like the NHL is going to put a public poll up, because fans are going to say no. But the NHL is making a lot of money, and that was the idea. That's why they installed them in all 32 arenas, and they're not going anywhere. So the 84-game schedule would also be a way for them to make a little bit more money, which we all know. It's important for the NHL to make a little bit more money. So all joking aside and everything, I think this is the way to go, and I think it's the right way to go. 4-3-2, and then you have 52 games against your conference, 32 games against the other conference, and I think there's a good balance there. I know people won't like the 84-game schedule at the beginning, but if it's just a week earlier you're going to start the schedule, it's only an extra 2 games, it really doesn't make a huge difference. Waiver wire notables for today. There were numerous players put on waivers, but I think the 2 to keep an eye on, and yet Craig Smith will clear. That contract guarantees he's going to clear. He's been a bit in the doghouse for Boston, and it's understandable. It has been a rough go for him this season. It's too bad, because Craig Smith last year at points was really quite good. Austin Czarnik's been waived by Detroit as well. Czarnik is a good 4th liner, and I think he's played well enough in Detroit. I could see the potential for a team to grab him, but remember, like Seattle did, they grabbed Tolvanen, they had to waive Kuhlman. Kuhlman ends up in Winnipeg. So if you grab Czarnik on waivers, it means you're going to have to waive somebody else. I could see a team like Vancouver maybe being interested. Think of teams that are right now ravaged by injuries up front. Maybe a Colorado is an example. There are others, of course. Maybe they would take a flyer on them, but we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always, especially when it comes to the 84-game schedule. Again, I think it's a perfect solution to a lot of the complaining we've been hearing about certain teams only playing other teams 3 times. It does make the schedule really well-balanced without making a big difference. But let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And remember, the NHL will only do things with their schedule that makes them more money not something that will make them less. So before you're posting about we need a 70 game or a 60 game schedule, it's just not going to fly. But thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.